Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of B is for Build. I'm Chris, I will be your host today, this evening, all day long actually, and I've completely lost my mind. I've been working 15 hours a day for the last week, every single day, trying to finish this build in time to leave for California. Today's the last day, that's it. The build is off the rails. Can we get it on the rails? This is the list, this is the to-do list. Yesterday, we got 5 things done. Today, we need to get 20 things done, and then we'll be successful and we'll drive away. And that's what's gonna happen in today's episode. So I hope you'll enjoy along with me on this journey of automotive entertainment. Stay tuned. All right, let's start off with some good news, but an incredibly frustrating story. I have a wheel and tire now that is inflated. What happened yesterday when I got this tire put on this wheel, they damaged my Aston Martin tire pressure monitor sensor thingy, which is a piece of the valve stem, so the tire was leaking air. I took it to a corporate tire shop and he laughed at me and said that, first of all, he wouldn't take the tire off the wheel because he totally damaged it because these tires are too blah, 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 blah. The guy was being an asshole about the whole thing. He didn't want to touch basically it was a modified wheel and tire combo and he didn't want to touch it at all. And then he said that the tire pressure monitor sensor was damaged and laughed at me when I asked if they could get a new one. And then when I told him it was a shared part, he said if it doesn't come from Aston Martin, they're not going to touch it, which is, again, just so stupid. So then I said, hey, well, you just put a standard valve stem in there because that would fix the problem. And although he acknowledged that it would totally fix the problem, I needed to drive my car tomorrow, he said no, because they're taking away safety from another car, blah, 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 blah. So if you run into this situation, when you take wheels that are not attached to a car and you bring a car in there, if you're going to a corporate place, which I would say I don't advise anyways, support a local business if you can find a smaller shop. Just tell them it comes from an older car. Say maybe they came off of an Aston Martin or they came off of a newer car, but they're going on to an old car without tire pressure monitoring sensors. That way you can skip all the political BS and all the liability and all that other nonsense of these people not letting you make your own decisions, which is ridiculous. So that's exactly what I did. I left his shop. I went and found a local mom and pop shop and I said, hey, listen, tire pressure monitor sensor is broken. It's shot anyways. Please take it out, put a standard valve. Actually, I asked them to try and repair it first. It was unrepairable. They put a standard valve stem in there and now I have a tire. Long story short, support local businesses and we have a wheel. I'm gonna throw this wheel on the car and then we're gonna continue putting our hood pins into our hood. Alrighty, we made our holes for the latch to go into. I recommend using a Dremel tool for this because it's very detailed work. Now what you're gonna notice is underneath here, there is the support that's underneath. It's the structural stuff to the hood. That way it's more than just sheet metal. So it's that stuff right there. And we need to go ahead and cut through that because this creates a high point right here that won't even let this thing sit flush. So we're gonna need to remove that. And for this, I'm gonna use a body saw, but you could use whatever. You could trace it and cut on the back or you know, if you're following along at home, which you probably aren't, there's lots of ways to cut this hole and it doesn't need to be nearly as exact, but I would also recommend cutting as small a hole as possible because it is structural metal and you don't wanna remove more than necessary. Okay, we got our aero latches on. I drilled out the holes where the bolts go and set the bolts through, made sure they were all gonna sit flush. And then the last part is we obviously need to screw it down. So you have this backing plate right here. You slide the nuts into that and it comes up underneath. Well, this one would be kind of like that. Comes up underneath like that. The bolts are gonna go through and catch onto this and it's gonna sandwich onto there. I'm gonna try and do that without cutting off any more material because I really don't wanna keep cutting on this, but I may have to cut more material to make it sit in there properly. But we'll see, I'll play around with it. I'll try my best without doing any more cutting. Oh, don't forget to remove the masking tape. got the latches mounted into the car. Everything went nicely, smoothly, so that's awesome. Now, I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see, but if you look right through there, you can see the core support. It's right underneath here. And this has been the plan since day one, is to come off of the core support to go into the hood latches. Now this is the pin that it wants to accept coming through there. So we will probably end up welding a small bracket that then this thing can thread in, and then it will be adjustable so we can raise and lower the height as we need to raise and lower the hood. And then you use this little bumper piece as well. And we may need to cut this or adjust this so we can get the hood to sit exactly where we want it to on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and bust that out now. All right, hood pins are complete. They are really nice and securely mounted in here. And this is how they kind of come up. I know some people are going to mention, oh, you need locking ones, blah, 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 blah. I'm not too worried about it right now. If anybody wants to steal any of the crap components of this engine, not too worried about it. And all we did there was I welded 2 nuts, stacked up 2 nuts, welded them on there. That way I could get a lot of thread on the pin, and then a lot of rubber on that pin, so it's a really, really tight fit on the hood coming back down. When we press it in, you got to press it down nice and firm. That way, once you get it in there and latch it, it's really not moving around at all. Didn't want it to be all wiggly jiggly. So that's it. Hood is on there. Next thing I got to do is kind of work with the fenders and get them in the official spot. That way I can measure out where the headlight needs to go, because we have to build a bracket that's going to come off of here and support the headlight from underneath. A journey through fender land, but we got one side fender 100% mounted. Let me show you around. So we got bolts that hold it on. There, and on the inside in there. We threw this crazy grill side thing on that flows the body line. I painted it gloss black off camera. We got the grill behind it, gloss black, blinker, side marker right there. Now the side skirt is unclipped right now because I accidentally put the jack where that needs to clip in. And then, because Aston Martin fender liners are like 300 bucks a set, I went ahead, snagged some off of 300ZX, did a little trimming, no, 350Z, and did a little trimming, and then went ahead and bolted that up into there. So we got some fender liner protecting some of our electrics. So that is one fender done, and that's what I needed to do to be able to then figure out where the headlight goes so I can build the mounts for it. Now that I did that, got to go to the other side and do it over there. Got the driver's side fender on with no problems. Fender, wheel liner, everything went off without a hitch, so it's awesome to have that all done. Now it's time to go ahead and mount the headlights. Since we have the fenders fully, fit to the car, we'll know exactly where to land these headlights inside our hole. The headlights have this one tab on the back, and then they have a bolt underneath there, a nut, recessed into the headlight. So right here on the front core support that came with the car, right behind that, there's a piece to bolt up those 2 back pieces. Then the front has quite a bit of weight to it, and it's going to hang down right around here, and we're going to need to support it from the bottom. So we're going to have to weld something off of our core support to right here to support that from the bottom. Got the first headlight mounting knocked out. So this headlight is now mounted in the car. It's on its own, sitting there. What I did was I took so we bolted into the back where it was supposed to bolt into, the 2 in the back, and then took a support rod coming off of the core support, going up to the bottom of it, where it has a tab and a bolt that bolts into the nut that is recessed into the headlight. and you can kind of see a little bit more from up here. And that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and build one more of those that will come off of this side right here, and we'll mount up this other headlight. All right, we've officially got two headlights. The car is looking great. Those are both mounted in there very well. That one gave me a little bit more trouble than the other one, but they're both in the car and they look good. Here's the problem. It's 1:15, 1:25 a.m. I really thought I could get everything done today, and since I showed up in the shop today, it's been 13 hours and I really haven't gotten that much done. But tomorrow should go a little bit faster. So at this point, I'm really far behind schedule, but I can kind of make it up on the road. If I drive a lot more hours than planned, we can do it. But if I don't leave by tomorrow evening, I'm starting to just like, I'm paying for hotels that I'm not gonna be in and stuff like that. It's gonna get bad. So I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna get some sleep, I'm gonna be back first thing in the morning, and we're gonna button this up. We're really not that far off from having a running and driving car here. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. Now hang on to your britches, don't shat your trousers. It is time to transform this car more and get it done. I wrote time down for everything, which is a terrible idea. If you make a list, great idea. Don't write how much time you think everything is gonna take, because when you start screwing up every single one of those, it's really gonna add a lot of stress for no reason. So if I get everything done in time, we will drive away and it will still be light outside. If not, it won't. I'm gonna start in the front here. That's under the hood. I've been playing around with the air intakes a little bit, different positioning. I think I'm gonna make them land kind of right here in the middle in this big empty space, but I'm not 100% sure. I might also be able to get them to go down there by the front bumper. I'm gonna keep playing with those positioning, but I did go ahead and wire up our radiator. So we're running a dual radiator, obviously pulling, wired straight into the car's standard radiator thing, so hopefully it'll click on when it needs to. But this plug down here was probably a radiator thermostat that I don't have, so hopefully it'll all work as we need it to. Now the next thing that I gotta do is we need a filler neck to be in line with this system. So I have a filler neck off of a BRZ, and I'm gonna go ahead and introduce it into the system right about here inside this stock hose. Filler neck installation went great, so it's right there. It allows us to fill things, and then if it overfills, it goes out around there, through there, into that hard line, up into the overflow reservoir, which is the highest point in the car. So we should definitely not have the problems that we had in the BRZ, or at least fingers crossed. I really hope not. Really can't deal with that stuff again. Next thing I gotta go ahead and do is figure out the placement for the air intakes. It's probably gonna be a zip tie job, unfortunately, because we just are running out of time. Gotta get the air intakes, and then we're gonna go ahead and wire through the wire harness for the front. You can actually see it's down there on the ground. It's gonna come through here. That'll get us our headlights plugged in and our MAFs plugged in, and that's really all we're plugging in up front here. There's a lot of other plugs, but we don't have any of those things. Got the air filters and the air intakes mounted up. It's not exactly how I would have wanted to do it. It's not symmetrical, which I really wanted it to be symmetrical, and they're not in the right spot. The problem I ran into is these MAF cables are too short. They only go about right here, so I couldn't even run them facing each other in the center here because the MAF cables weren't long enough. So what we'll do is we'll extend them. When I get back from this trip, we'll go ahead and extend them, and then I'm gonna drop the air intakes down there, so the front diffuser will go back, and then they'll kind of sit on the top of that there and get a lot of nice fresh air. But for now, we'll go ahead and do this. Engine heat soak will be a tiny bit of an issue, but it'll be a very, very, very small performance loss. Probably not even noticeable. So for the trip, I think it'll be just fine. As long as you keep them dry, like relatively dry, you're good to go. So that's that up there. We need to go ahead and fill the radiator and then keep moving on. I honestly forgot what the next step is. Ta-da! The front is buttoned up. This thing is so sturdy and so strong. It's the most hardcore assembled front end of any car I've ever built. That makes me really happy. It's a total pain in the ass to put together, but when you think about it, it's not actually as bad as a lot of other cars. There's 3 bolts on the inside of each of these fender to bumper attachments, and that kind of adds quite a bit. The other thing that like kind of changed some things around is I think that there was a little bit of slack in the front impact bar when we designed the front under tray. So then now everything got tightened up and lifted up, and it really cinched everything together. So it looks good, it's right, but it's on there. It's sturdy as all hell. So the last thing that needs to be done before we can run the car is fill the radiator system with water and make sure it's all happy. So I'll have to go buy some water here soon. But before I do that, let's go ahead and jump into the inside and let's button up the interior. I'll do door panels first and then get the battery installed and get the interior buttoned up. Door panels are reinstalled. The interior reinstallation process was going really good. I'm only an hour behind schedule until I found out about this. The seat belts are locked. The SRS system causes an explosion in here to activate the pre-tensioner, which so when you get in a wreck, it'll tighten you down into your seat before you go flying forward. And unfortunately, that happened on this car, which I didn't even know about because airbag not blown. And now I don't have seatbelts, working seatbelts. So this could really screw me up time-wise, but I'm gonna dig into it. I gotta figure out, I'm gonna have to go ahead and put the battery in there, that way I can get the seats forward, and then pull the paneling out and get those things out of there and fix them. Okay, it's a little bit later, a lot later actually, and I'm very far behind schedule now. Now I'm like 3 hours behind schedule, maybe 4. But both the seatbelts are fixed. The interior is buttoned up, the windshield wipers are on, and the cooling system is full. So it's time to start the car up, make sure everything's okay, check the oil, and check all that good stuff. All right, so far so good. One big issue that might take up a little bit of time is the windshield wipers are not operational, and I believe it's because the car thinks that the hood is up. It has a sensor to tell if the hood is latched, and my sensor is gone. So I got a bundle of wires down there that's kind of bundled away, and I'm gonna go through them one by one and start bridging pins on the sensors and try and see if I can make the car think that the hood is closed. Success! This plug right here connects to the hood open, not open latch sensor thing, and I bridged the 2 pins in there, and it thinks the hood is shut, and then the windshield wipers went off without a hitch. Whoo! I was so worried about that. I thought I was gonna be here all night. Okay, so now I'm gonna bundle that back up. I'm gonna electrical tape that shut, bundle that back up, shut the hood, close the hood, move the car forward. Let's install the side skirts and the rear spoiler and take all the masking off the rear. Let's build that ass. That is one badass car. I'm so happy it's ready to go. I'm nervous, but I'm excited too. I'm gonna go take it for a drive. It's too dark, so I'm not gonna bring any cameras. I'm just gonna go for a spin, come back and let you guys know how it went. Car runs great, except for 2 small things. It says it's a little bit low on water, so I'm gonna check the reservoir and fill that up. It might have just burped up an air bubble. The other thing is the driver's seat is too far forward and it won't go backwards. Now they say on the forums the way to fix this is by moving the seat all the way forward, and then you try and move it backwards. It's like a seat reset. If this doesn't work though, the seat's gonna be stuck all the way. Right now I can kind of drive it, and if this doesn't work, the seat's gonna be stuck all the way forward and then I won't be able to drive it at all. But I gotta give it a try because it's crazy close right now and it's a total pain in the ass. So I'm gonna give it a try. Let's hope I don't totally brick the car at the last minute. Fixed it. That was honestly the most nerve-wracking thing I've done with this car yet. All right, guys, well, that is where I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna let the engine cool down, top it off with water, and then I'm gonna go home in my Aston Martin V8 Vantage. And I'm gonna take it to the car wash tomorrow because it's dirty. Thank you so much for tuning in. I think I've got my mind back, although, man, it's 11 o'clock, so I blew my 3 o'clock deadline really far, really far away. But it really came together. It really came together. This is definitely not the end of the build by any means, but tomorrow I gotta drive this car 1,000 miles, or tonight I gotta start, I don't know, I'll figure it out. Anyways, thanks so much for joining. Thanks for tuning in. If you like the show, you like what we're doing here, head over to bsforbuild.com, scroll down to the shop. Picking up any of the merch is a great way to support the show. And if you want to find us in more places, follow us on Instagram, bsforbuild. We're on there. Thank you again for watching. I hope you guys are having a happy holidays. Please remember to like and subscribe. Peace!